Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 29, Krishna and the Gopis meet. So we'll be reading the text 1 and then we'll have the summary of this 29th chapter in today's class. Text 1. Shri Badarayani Ruvacha Bhagavan Pita Ratrihi Sharadot Pulla Mallika Viksharantum Manaschakre Yogamaya Mupashitaha Bhagavan Pita Ratrihi Sharadot Pulla Mallika Viksharantum Manaschakre Yogamaya Mupashitaha Bhagavan Pita Ratrihi Sharadot Pulla Mallika Viksharantum Manaschakre Yogamaya Mupashitaha. Badarayani Ruvacha Bhagavan Pita Ratri Sharadot Pulla Mallika Viksharantum Manaschakre Yogamaya Mupashitaha. Shri Badarayani Ruvacha Bhagavan Pita Ratrihi Mallika Viksharantum Manaschakre Yogamaya Mupashitaha. Shri Badarayani Ruvacha Bhagavan Pita Ratrihi Mallika Viksharantum Yogamaya Mupashitaha. Matajis. Shri Ruvacha Okay. Word to word translation. Shri Badarayani Ruvacha. Shri Shukadev, the son of Srila Badarayana Vyasa, said, Bhagavan Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, api, although, tataha, those, ratrihi, nights, sharada, of autumn, utpulla, blossoming, mallika, the jasmine flowers, viksha, seeing, rantum, to enjoy love, manaha chakre, he made up his mind, yogamayam, his spiritual potency that makes the impossible possible, upashitaha, restoring to. Translation and purport by the servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Shri Badarayani said, Shri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, full in all opulences, yet upon seeing those autumn nights scented with blossoming jasmine flowers, he turned his mind towards loving affairs. to fulfill his purposes, he employed his internal potency. Purport. As we begin this famous narration of Lord Krishna's Rasa dance, a dance of love with beautiful young girls, questions will inevitably arise in the minds of ordinary people regarding the propriety of God's romantic dancing with many young girls in the middle of a full moon autumn night. In his description of the Lord's Rasa dance in Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Srila Prabhupada painstakingly explains the spiritual purity of these transcendental activities. Those advanced in the science of Krishna, the great teacher or acharyas, leave no doubt that Lord Krishna is full and is satisfied in himself, free of all material desires, which is, after all, a sense of incompleteness or lack. So it's a big purport. We'll take the summary of that. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Goratushe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So to start with, would like to take the blessings of all the senior devotees, specifically Maharaj, so that we can speak on this very transcendental and difficult portion of Srimad Bhagavatam. So you all can please bless me so that we can discuss these pastimes which will help us to get rid of one of the most difficult anartha, and that is lust from our heart. So there are this Ras Panchadhyay which is there in Srimad Bhagavatam at the end of Bhagavatam, that is 10th canto. And this is one of the highest pastime considered in Krishna Lila in terms of his reciprocation with his devotees. The highest are the Gopis, and Krishna's highest reciprocation is in the form of a Rasa Lila. So we are also sitting at the lotus feet of Shri Radha Rasa Bihari, who is very expert in performing Rasa Lila. So we are trying to understand about this very important pastimes. Ras Lila. So many times this is the pastime which is most understood. Most understood? Many times. Because other things are okay. Krishna's childhood pastimes, stealing butter, that's also still okay. But Krishna's Ras Lila is something which is very, very much misunderstood. Not only outside, even those who consider themselves very religious. Once in one of the Bhagavatam class, one of our sannyasi was giving Bhagavatam class, and then one person at the end of the class, he asked the question. He got up and he gave his introduction. He said, I am done PhD in Jayadeva Goswami's Gita Govinda. Gita Govinda is very famous, very poetic, very wonderful pastime of Radharani is being called when Krishna is standing there waiting in Vrindavan. So it's one of the very top class composition. So he said, I have done PhD. But then he said, I have a problem and a question. He said, what is the question? He said, why do you worship this lusty god Krishna? So that is the question of a PhD who has done his in Jayadeva Goswami's Gita Govinda. So the speaker was telling him, he said, sir, you have done PhD without doing your high school. So that's the problem. So your PhD, but he said, better you go and read second chapter of Bhagavad Gita at least 20 times till you understand. Then you can think of this Gita Govinda and other things. So generally what happens is people, they just jump and then they come to the wrong conclusion that Krishna is lusty. How can Krishna be so lusty, glorified by so many sages, so many great rishis, munis who are completely detached from this material world? But that's how they conclude. Even here, purport says that ordinary people are bewildered. Not only ordinary, even extraordinary people are bewildered by this pastime. M.K. Gandhi was asked that, do you believe that Krishna performed this Ras Lila? So he had a great hesitation to give answer. So he said that, I hope and pray that this is not true. But if Krishna has done this act of dancing with other men's wife, then I feel ashamed to call myself as Hindu. So you can see that this is what their misunderstanding. So even so-called great personalities also cannot understand Krishna when it comes to Ras Lila. So we have to see that what this Ras Lila is. So this Rasa Lila is the highest expression of love between Krishna, who is the reservoir of all rasas, Rasa Bihari, and his highest devotees, that is Gopis. So this is just a expression on the highest platform, which is kind of considered very reverential by all the great sages and saints. So that should not be brought down to the mundane platform. That's how in the same chapter, in the purports ahead, Prabhupada gives an example that how when the tree is there and the reflection is there of the tree, the highest part of tree is reflected as the downmost part in the reflection. So what is considered the highest in spiritual world? The parakiya ras, the conjugal love in separation. That is becomes abominable in this world when that is imitated. So relationship between paramour, relationship between other than one's wife is considered very sinful, very abominable in this world. But that's how the thing is, that everything in spiritual world is completely pure, without tinge of any self sense gratification. And that's how that becomes the highest point of one's reciprocation with Krishna. So first we have to understand this Rasa Lila, understanding the basic concepts. As Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami gives very nice definition of what is prema and what is kama. So he says, Atmendriya pritivancha tare balikam Krishnendriya priti ichha dhare premanam. So he says that when we act for our own sense gratification, then it is called as a kama. And when we are acting for the Krishna's sense gratification, when we are pleasing Krishna through our activities, then it is called as a prema. Generally both are mixed in material world. We call it kama as love. We call, so there is no proper distinguishing factor. But then Prabhupada gives very nice understanding in this chapter that kama is like a iron and prema is like a gold. Apparently both are metal, but then gold is gold and iron is iron. So that is low class metal. This is high class metal. Why low class? Because it gets rusted. So the iron rusts, and the Jai Shri Radha Ras Bihari Ji ki, Shri Gonitai ki, Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. So we see that in this world, kama, which is generally propagated as prema, that is considered very high. So many novels, so many movies, so many songs, and practically everything talks about that so-called love. But then Prabhupada says that that is like an iron. The real gold is prema, the desire to satisfy Krishna's senses. That is prema. So here we see that lust becomes like a rust on the soul. It covers the soul from its natural tendency to love Krishna. And that's how we see that Cheto Darpana Marjanam, that when we clean that rust of lust, then we can actually revive our original love for Krishna. So without getting out that lust, real prema, real love cannot arise. We'll never understand what is the difference between love and lust. Prabhupada gives very down to earth. I was just thrilled to see Prabhupada's this pastime when he is describing in Krishna book. And that's how we understand that unless we hear this pastime from the pure soul, pure devotee of Krishna, who has given up this lust, we can never understand these pastimes. Because this pastime is something very high for us now in this conditioned state. So he gives very simple understanding. So gives very nice analogy that he says that if servant is there and he is serving master, so it appears that he is loving the master, he is serving the master, he is satisfying the master. But then that love for the master is very temporary till the point master gives him salary. When the master stops his salary, his so-called love also stops. So that means he was not loving the master. He was loving the check which he used to get from the master. So why he is loving the check? Because that will satisfy him. So actually he was satisfying him only. It was apparently he was serving the master. So in this case, we see that that was not love, that is lust only. But then in spiritual world, when the devotees are serving Krishna, they are not asking anything in return. Even if Krishna doesn't give anything in return, they still love him, serve him. That is called as love. In this world, that's how the thing is, that you scratch my back, I scratch your back. That is not love. That is a business. That's what the lust means. So love means without any reciprocal gain, still we are ready to serve. That is what the love means. So the love is the purest desire to serve Krishna without any personal motive that I should be happy. So we see that the Gopis of Vrindavan, they are the highest in this scenario. So we see that all over India, specifically in North, if you see, there is this Rasa Lila plays goes on. That like some players are there and they keep doing Rasa Lila village to village, and they like that traditionally. So there are two ways to observe this Rasa Lila. One, that because we see that this Rasa Lila is our traditional, that's how that drama is, and that is going on for so many ages, so many years, traditionally. So how can our great sages and saints and our traditional people, they were kind of, why they will put this Rasa Lila so much in focus if that is creating disturbance? But then we see that this Rasa Lila is going on for so many decades and so many centuries, that Rasa Lila pastime. So there are two ways by which one can see that Rasa Lila. One, you identify with the Gopis and you think that Krishna is so nice and Krishna is having such a nice pastime, and then you feel happy seeing Krishna happy performing that pastime. So you put yourself on the side of Gopis and glorify Krishna, see Krishna's, the way when we are seeing the Abhishek of Krishna, you can see how devotees are like so enthusiastic. The third person, you never understand kya chal raha hai yahan pe. Some people are pouring water on metal, and these people are like bubbling with enthu. So why? Because they are happy that Lord is getting bathed, flowers are offered, and then that's how. So when the Abhishek is going on, we are in the mood of servant of the Lord, and then we are very happy that our master is getting so much nice treatment. But then second way of looking at Rasa Lila is that you imagine yourself as Krishna, and then you see that, oh, so nice. So that is contaminated understanding, vision, when we are seeing Rasa Lila. So we see that great souls, when they are looking at Rasa Lila, their understanding about themselves is very clear. They never try to imagine themselves as Krishna. They never try to imagine themselves in the enjoyer position. Sometimes back I had seen that advertisement, some cloth company had put some advertisement that Rasa Lila famous picture is there, Krishna, Radharani is standing, and then Ashtasakis are there. So they had put Krishna with suit, coat, tie, with Radharani, and then the face was different. Some other person was there. And they were showing that if you wear our clothes, you become a perfect man. And then you will attract so many gopis like Krishna. So that is the contaminated mentality of seeing Rasa Lila. That maybe in future I'll also try like this. So that's how when Prabhupada talked about this kind of imitation of Rasa Lila, and there are many imitators, no dearth. Hundreds are there. So Prabhupada said Krishna did Ras Lila and these people do Raskal Lila, not Ras Lila. So their Raskal Lila is going on, trying to enjoy others' property, others' wife. So that is not what the point of Srimad Bhagavatam is. Srimad Bhagavatam is pure and it talks about the supreme, pure Ras Lila. And we can see this even when people go to the movie is going on, hero is loving heroine, and the villain is burning in so much envy and lust, and he wants to disturb them. And then the audience is sitting there, watching the whole drama like that. So now here 4 people are there. Hero is there, heroine is there, villain is there, and the audience is there, seeing that whole thing happening, the love affairs on the screen. So how do you think, how many villains are there here? Of course, one that villain is there, that is in and out villain only, because he is trying to enjoy that girl who is there as an actress. So he wants to enjoy the heroine, and then we understand that it's very bad. Should be beaten up. He should be killed like that. But then if you see, the hero is also having the lust only in his heart. So he is also in the mood of enjoyment only. He is not there to serve the lotus feet of heroine. Not like that. He is also enjoying for his personal enjoyment only. So in that sense, he also becomes villain only. Because he is not there to serve, he is there to exploit. That so-called love. And what about the heroine? She is surrendered soul, worshipping the lotus feet of the hero. No, she is also like that servant, as Prabhupada says. Some, len den hai. So she also becomes villain. Because she is also acting on lust only, not love. What about the audience? Audience, they are happy seeing that I am not able to enjoy, at least I can see second class enjoyment. Like at least he is enjoying. In future I'll also do like this. I am not able to do currently, at least I can watch. So they are also in the mode of villain only. So if you see the whole happening, everybody is villain. Villain is villain. Hero, heroine and audience, all are in villain category only. Because they want to enjoy something which is not theirs. Kaminira kama nahe tava dhama. Tahara malika kevala yadav. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada, he says that we are not supposed to enjoy. We are servant of Krishna, we are enjoyed. Only one enjoyer is there, that is Krishna. So when we try to take the position of Krishna, we don't say we are Krishna, we want to enjoy like Krishna. That is same only. Without telling we want to become Krishna. So that is a villain mentality. So in this world everybody is villain only. Only pure devotees, they are free from this villain mentality. They are trying to serve Krishna. So when we are seeing this Rasa Lila with the villain point of view, then that is so much contaminating. But if you try to see Rasa Lila through servant point of view, then we'll relish that Rasa Lila. That Rasa Lila will provide purification of our heart and so much of nourishment to the heart's emotions. So that is how the Rasa Lila is. So the Bhagavatam describes this very nicely in this shloka. It says, Vikriditam brajavadhubhir idam cha Vishnu Shraddhanvito anushruyat athavarnayedyat Bhaktim param bhagavati pratilabhya kamam Rudrogamashu apahinoti achirena dhiraha. The Bhagavatam describes Anyone who faithfully hears or describes the Lord's playful affairs with the young gopis of Vrindavan will attain the Lord's pure devotional service. Thus, he will quickly become sober and conquer lust, the disease of the heart. So we see that exactly opposite is told in Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam says that Vikriditam Vrajavadhur idam cha Vishnu. Specifically here, Vishnu word is used, not Krishna. Because sometimes Krishna is misunderstood as a coward boy. Here the word comes Vishnu. So he's telling that Vishnu is dealing with the gopis. So when Vishnu's name comes, people generally fold their palms. Then they don't try to find faults. So here it says, Vikriditam Vrajavadhur idam cha Vishnu. So this is the Vishnu who is very great. He has created this whole universe. He is worshipped by all the demigods, all the sages. Now here is a Vishnu and he is performing very nice pastime with this Vrajavadhu, gopis. So that is established as a very high pedestal. Then he says, Shraddhanvito anushrunuyad atha varnayet yaha. That when this pastime is heard with Shraddha, with faith. And from whom? From those who are understood this pastime, they are purified. So when we hear from pure devotees and when we have full faith in Krishna's supremacy, we don't have doubt that why Krishna is doing such abominable activity, why Krishna is playing with the wives of other people. With Shraddha and hearing from authorized person, when we do that, this pastime, what is the effect? Effect is Rudrogam ashu apuhnoti achirena dhiraha. It says that very quickly selfish mentality of exploiting others on the name of so-called love, which is lust only, vanquishes. One becomes pure of this exploitative mentality. So that is the benediction given, that somebody who hears Rasa Lila from an authorized person with faith. So that is our, that's what we are doing. When we understand this Rasa Lila through the pure devotee like Prabhupada, then the real work starts of cleaning our heart. And we see that in this chapter, Parikshit Maharaj, when he is going through this Rasa Lila understanding, he knows that in future also so many people will come who will not be qualified to hear the Rasa Lila. Because in Prabhupada's pastime also, when Prabhupada has gone to, he had gone to the home of one I believe judge in South India, and then they had a very beautiful altar, and Prabhupada was very happy to see that. They were very kind of generous to invite Prabhupada at their home and like that. And then with great kind of happiness they come to Prabhupada and they requested. The man requested Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, can you please speak about Rasa Lila? So Prabhupada was not at all in the mood of speaking. So he just didn't care. So he was repeatedly going and asking, Prabhupada, can you speak Rasa Lila? So then Prabhupada told him that, see, this Rasa Lila is very high and it requires a qualification. So this man, he said, yes, we know that. That's why we are telling you, tell us. So he was assuming that he is on that platform to hear Rasa Lila. Then Prabhupada has to come down. He said, you may be qualified. I am not qualified to speak. So that opened his eyes. So those who consider that they are qualified and then they are on that level, then they misuse that pastime and So that's how we see that lot of Sahajism goes on the name of this Ras Leela. Many times I don't know, some person becomes very famous, spiritual so-called person, and then he starts performing Ras Leela like Krishna, calling the girls and ladies. He dresses himself like Krishna and then starts doing Raskal Lila. So that is very common. And all the gullible people who are very innocent become the victims in such kind of cases. But then, to the degree we understand this pastime through pure devotees, then we understand what is this Ras Lila. Even the hearer of Srimad Bhagavatam, who was very pure at heart, Parikshit Maharaj, he had heard these pastimes many times, because it is not the first time he is hearing the pastime of Krishna. He is in the lineage of Pandavas. That is his, the goal of his life is that. So he must have heard this pastime so many times, but still when Shukadeva Goswami is coming and speaking this pastime, he is very enthralled, very enchanted. But when this topic comes of Ras Leela, he asked this question for all of us. Aptakamo yadupatihi krutavan vai jugupsitam kim abhipraya etannaha samshayam chindi suvrata. So he says, Aptakamo yadupatihi. Krishna, who is Yadupati, is Aptakama. He enjoys within himself. He doesn't need somebody else to satisfy him. So if Krishna is fully self-satisfied, Kritavan vai jagupsitam, why he does such kind of activity which apparently look like exploitation? He himself is satisfied. Why there is a need for him to do such kind of thing as Ras Leela, which looks very abominable? And then he says, Samshayam chindi suvrataha, that you are best of the spiritual masters, and this doubt I have. Can you please remove this doubt? So this is not a doubt of Parikshit Maharaj. This is the doubt he is presenting on all our behalf to Shukadeva Goswami. And then Shukadeva Goswami chastises him. He says, so many times I have told you about the position of Krishna. Have not understood it yet? And then he goes on describing the position of Krishna, that he is like a fire. He is like a sun. Even if sun comes in touch with something, dirty, like, stool or urine, the sun has a power to absorb the impurity of that stool and urine, and it can become a manure. Then people take it and put it in their fields to grow the crops. So sun, because it is coming in touch with the foul smelling nasty substances, sun doesn't get affected. Sun is sun only. So similarly, he says that Krishna, like a fire, when he comes in touch with anything, that gets purified, not that he becomes contaminated. Prabhupada gives very nice examples for this. And then he says that how Shishupal was a demon, out and out. From the beginning of his life, he was so envious of Krishna that no day went without blaspheming Krishna heavily. So this Shishupal, who was so contaminated, having such a negative outlook, having so much of dirt in his heart of envy towards Krishna, but when he was in touch with Krishna in Rajasuya sacrifice, Krishna cut off his head. He didn't go to hell. He was liberated. He got a Sayujya Mukti. So Prabhupada says in the Krishna book that if such a dirty person like Shishupal, who came in touch with Krishna, who is like a fire, he got liberated. He got purified. What to speak of these gopis? who were coming in touch with Krishna with love for the satisfaction of Krishna. Even if you say there is contamination, that will be evaporated. But then we understand that Gopis didn't come to Krishna with a material lust. That is a transcendental, purified relationship. So, whatever time we have now, there are some 9 points we'll like to discuss, which brings the understanding that how Ras Lila is not an ordinary play. It's not a mundane relationship affair between girl and boy. Not like that. So the first thing is that this Rasa Lila happened at the age of 7. Like now this Kartik is coming. The Amavasya of Kartik, Krishna, next day was the Govardhan Puja. Next day of Amavasya in Kartik. So Kartik, 1 month before Kartik is Ashwin month. Ashwin and then Kartik. So Ashwin month, which is just before, 15 days before that, the Purnima in Ashwin is called as the Sharad Purnima. You see now also that this, if you see your current calculation also, this year, the 9th October coming now, this is Ashwin month's Purnima. That is called as the Sharad Purnima, which is on 9th October. So, and then comes the Govardhan Puja, which happens at the Prathama of Kartik, Govardhan Puja. And then on the Tritiya of Govardhan Puja, Indra becomes very angry. And for 7 days that whole pastime goes, Krishna lifting the Govardhan, Indra is in great trouble and things like that. On the Navami of Kartik month, Krishna keeps the Govardhan back. 10th, there is so much of glorification of Krishna by so many devotees. And then Ekadashi comes, which was done by Nanda Maharaj, which was last. So, Krishna was that time 7-year-old when this whole thing happened. Lifting, keeping it back, and then Kartik, this Ekadashi was there, which was done by Nanda Maharaj. And then on the Dwadashi, Nanda Maharaj was caught. And then again revived back by Krishna. So, then Krishna performed this Ras Lila in the next year. Exactly, because the Sharad Purnima had just crossed. 15 days back only of Govardhan Puja, Sharad Purnima was there. So Krishna waited for another 1 year. And then in the Ashwin month's Purnima, Krishna performed Ras Lila. So what is the age of Krishna that time then? 8 years. So at the 7th year he lifted Govardhan. 8th year he did Ras Lila. So 8-year child, can you imagine 8-year child? 8-year child means people are in 2nd standard. Right? 2nd or 3rd standard. So you can see 2nd standard child, what kind of lust he'll have. You have seen, they have no idea what is boy, girl. They have no idea what. You have seen, they are so innocent. So, if somebody says that, Krishna was lusty when he was doing Rasa Lila, his age was 8. There is no scope. Even on material plane, it is not possible. So, what to speak of spiritual platform? So, Krishna's age was 8 when he performed Rasa Lila. So, it doesn't appear that it can be a lusty affair. The second thing which, This Raslila, this chapter, Prabhupada writes in the purport that the Lord is Aptakama and then he is Vishnu. So if he is Aptakama, he doesn't need anybody else for his own enjoyment. So Krishna doesn't need this Rasalila. Krishna can be quiet because he's already glorified, he's very nicely situated. Why he has to cut his own name? Why he has to put a blemish on his name? In this world, people are having so much lust and then they do something wrong and then their name is gone. But a person who is not having any lust, who is Aptakama, he doesn't need to do that Rasalila to enjoy and then his name is spoiled. So, because he is Aptakama, there is no question that Krishna will do this Rasalila for his own satisfaction. Because he is already satisfied. He doesn't need something else. Then somebody may say that, yes, Krishna is Aptakama. But then sometimes such kind of impurities may come. Yeah. But then even the great literatures like Vedas and Upanishads, they also enjoins that how Krishna is the supremely pure personality. That the shloka comes in Ishopanishad. Ashnaviram apapa viddham. Prabhupada there gives the same analogy of sun. That he is the supremely pure. Anything comes in touch with him also gets purified. What to speak of he getting impure. So, even if the Gopis come in touch with him, say, with wrong motive, still Krishna will not be contaminated. Krishna remains as it is. That pastime is there when the Gopis had a tough time crossing river Yamuna. And then they came to Krishna that what to do. So Krishna said, go and tell Yamuna that Krishna is a Bala Brahmachari. They started laughing. He said, no, you go and tell. So then they went and told that Krishna is Bala Brahmachari, please, on his strength, please give us the way. And then Yamuna gave the way. So, Krishna, apparently it may look like, having affair with the Gopis. But then, he is not contaminated. One may say, no, he may not be contaminated. But then the Gopis must have triggered him. Sometimes somebody is pure. Sometimes somebody is nice. But sometimes, the situation happens like that. Prabhupada very nicely points out that part also. He says that the Gopis, when they were having a Ras Lila with Krishna, they were doing that Ras Lila with their spiritual bodies. They were not material bodies, playing with Krishna. And then Prabhupada gives an understanding that when the Krishna standing at Vamshivat at the very wonderful night of this autumn season, Sharad Ritu, seeing the full blown moon, as we saw here now, today's verse, that he desired. Like today's verse was, Bhagavan apita ratrihi Sharad Pullot Mallikaha. That although he is Bhagavan, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, still, he says Bhagavan api. Api means he doesn't need to perform Ras Lila. Bhagavan. Api. Although he is Bhagavan, still he desired. Okay, let us have a reciprocation with the Gopis. And this is a very nice time. And then he started playing flute. And then he says, Viksha Rantum Manas Chakre Yoga Maya Upashritaha. So this whole pastime was done in Yoga Maya Upashrita. This whole pastime was done under the Yoga Maya potency, not on Mahamaya potency. So, when the Gopis were forbidden by their relatives, their friends, their mother, father, they said, nahi jaane ka. But then they were having such an intense love for Krishna, they were hearing the sweet flute played on fifth note, and they couldn't, bear it. They were in so much separation, but when they were locked up inside, they started, with great eagerness, with great separation, they started meditating on Krishna. And then Bhagavatam describes that practically they left the whole body, and in their spiritual form, they went and performed Rasa Lila with Krishna. So Rasa Lila was not that some material, embodied, some gopis, they are coming and playing with Krishna. Not like that. So they were in their spiritual form, not material form. So spiritual form, there is no lust. And we see that these gopis were not ordinary. They were the great sages from Chitrakoot who wanted this kind of paramour relationship with Lord Ram. Lord Ram said that, don't worry, I will surely fulfill all your desires, but not in this pastimes. Because I am now Ekapatni Vrat. I have come here to establish some rules, establish some standards. He says that you come next time. Next Lila, I'll surely satisfy all your desires. All these gopis were the great sages and saints on Chitrakoot, who are called as Munichari gopis. And there were many other people there. If you see the Rasa Lila, even the Lord Shiva, Shankar, he is eager to take part in Rasa Lila. Narad Muni is ready to take, eager to take part in Rasa Lila. Even Lakshmi is eager to take part in Rasa Lila. That shows that it was not ordinary pastime. It was one of the very superior spiritual platform. The fifth reason comes as, first, we saw that Krishna was 8-year-old only. Second, we saw that Krishna is Apta Kama. So there is no need for him to do Rasa Lila. Next, we saw that Krishna is supremely pure. Even if something contaminated comes, can get purified. Fourth, we saw that gopis, they were having a spiritual form, not material form. Fifth is, this Rasa Lila was mundane. No saintly person will talk about it. So here we see that Shukadeva Goswami, who is so he is the topmost of renunciates. From the womb, he just went to the forest. He had no attachment to home, mother, father, social things. He just walked off to forest on the first day of his birth. So he was so detached, and he is speaking Rasa Lila. So we can understand that he will surely not speak something which is material. And who is hearing Parikshit Maharaj, who is another great pure devotee? And who are wanting to take part in Rasa Lila? Lord Shankara, Shiva. He is considered one of the greatest of all the devotees. Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu. And he is considered the Dhira. He is like undisturbed in all circumstances. He wants to take part in Rasa Lila. Narad Muni, who is one of the greatest of Acharya, he wants to take part in Rasa Lila. So these great personalities are taking part in Rasa Lila. So it cannot be an ordinary. So this conjugal love between Lord and his devotees, not only in our sampradaya, even other sampradayas you see this. Like in South India, although they worship Narayana, but there also they have this Tiruppavai. So that is Andal has written composition, and she was in great love to the Lord, and she is loving the Lord as a conjugal companion. And all the Vaishnava, Sri Vaishnava Acharyas also, they consider that as a very great expression of love. So although they are kind of Aishwarya Bhav, but then they understand this love of Andal. Even in Western Christian thing also, I have heard that there was one saint, I just forgot the name. He started writing poems in this mood that Krishna is like my lover. So the whole church became so disturbed, that whole church body. They banned him. They throw him out, telling that, how can you do like this? So we see that when somebody is purified, he understands that that is the highest thing in expression between the Lord and the jivas. So that was the fifth thing, that the greatest of the renunciates, they speak about Ras Leela. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is the sannyasa shiromani, Nyasi shiromani. He is so strict in his sannyas vows. He is discussing about Ras Leela. So that shows that it is not ordinary. 6 things we see that Ras Leela is spoken on such a occasion. Parikshit Maharaj is about to die within 1 or 2 days. You don't tell some filmy Bollywood story to a dying man. And if he is a pure devotee, that one girl came, one boy came, and then they had nice. That you don't tell to a dying person. So the whole setup was, that person is dying, so many people have come there. You don't speak there some material mundane affairs of boy and girl. 7th, we see that even Bhishma Dev, who himself is a great Vairagi, because he has taken the vow of being a renunciate, he, at the time of death, he is glorifying the relationship of Krishna and Gopis, understanding that Krishna will be happy if I glorify his pure devotees. That very nice shloka is there. Yeah. So this comes in first canto. So he is remembering Krishna's pastimes on battlefield. How Krishna was there taking the reins of the chariot of his dear, he says, Vijaya Sakhe, that you are the Sakha of my dear Arjuna. And then you are protecting him. And then he remembers the whole pastime, that how I was shooting arrows at Krishna and Krishna was accepting it very nicely. And when he saw that his great friend Arjuna is in great critical situation, he takes the wheel and rushes towards me. And this is his meditation when he is lying on his arrow bed with great pain, about to die. That time he is remembering Krishna. And then the next verse he talks about this. Lalita gati vilasa guhasa pranaya nirikshana kalpito rumanaha krutamanu krutavatya unmaddandha prakruti magan kilayasya gopavadvaha. Let my mind be fixed upon Lord Sri Krishna, whose motions and smiles of love attracts the damsels of Vrajadham, the Gopis. The damsels imitated the characteristic movements of the Lord after his disappearance from the Ras Leela. So here we see that the great brahmachari, the great personality like Bhishma, his age is over 350 and he is dying with such a great meritorious activity throughout his life. He is considered worshipable by everybody. This personality, at the time of death, he is remembering Gopis. He is remembering the pastime of Ras Leela. So the Ras Leela cannot be ordinary. And then we see that even the great people, they have so much of appreciation for this Rasa Leela. We see that even Mahadev, Shankar is waiting to stand in the queue to go to Ras Leela. And then when he is told that no, only Gopis are allowed, then what he does? He says, no problem, I'll also become Gopi. And that's how he becomes Gopishwar Mahadev. And he stands there still as a guardian of this Ras Leela. So we see that he is waiting to take part in Ras Leela. Narada Muni is becoming Gopi to become part of Rasa Leela. Even Lord's own consort, Lakshmi ji, she is waiting to take part in Ras Leela, and she has not yet got confirmed ticket. Now also Lakshmi ji is waiting in one of the forest, waiting for getting a chance to perform Ras Leela. So we see these great personalities are waiting to get into Ras Leela. Only people who are materialistic, who have no idea, they condemn such important pastimes. So these are the some understanding that how this Rasa Leela is not ordinary, it is very high. When we understand prema only after getting purified from the lust, then we understand this. And that's how we see that to understand this pastime, we have to go through the devotees only. Otherwise, it is not possible. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes here to give this same Krishna prem which gopis were having, and he took sannyas himself. Not that he started doing Ras Leela. He took sannyas with strict vows of celibacy, strict vows of sannyas. He was relishing and spreading this love of Godhead, which was very rare even to Brahma and Lord Shiva. And we see that this kind of understanding we get only when we hear from such great souls. We see all the 6 Goswamis following in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They also became detached from this world. Although they were the chief prime minister and home minister of Nawab Hussain Shah, they had so much facility for enjoying. But then they left that, went to Vrindavan, wearing only kopen, taking rest at night under a tree. They were relishing Ras Leela. Tyaktva turnamashesha mandalapatim shrenim sada tuchchavad bhutva dina ganesha kau karunaya kaupina kanthashito gopi bhavarasamrutabdhilahari kallolamagno muhu vande rupa sanatano raghuyugau Shri Jiva Gopalakau. So they are leaving practically everything of this world and then going to Vrindavan to relish Rasa Leela. And that's how when they were going around in Vrindavan, He Radhe Braja Devike Chalalite He Nanda Suno Kuta Shri Govardhana Kalpa Pada Patale Kalindivanye Kuta Ghoshantaviti Sarvato Vrajapure Khedair Mahavifalo Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyugau Shri Jiva Gopalakau. So this Goswamis tell us the right way to understand Ras Leela. Not by imitating Krishna, but following in the footsteps of gopis. So actually, if you see, this pastime of Rasa Leela is the highest standard of renunciation exhibited by gopis. So this Rasa Leela puts the gopis on the highest rung of all the renunciates. जितने भी वैरागी है, त्यागी है, gopis are the highest. So they are the highest sannyasis. That is established by this pastime of Rasa Leela. So we'll end here. If there are any comments or queries.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you. One Acharya plays with the words in this verse, in Sanskrit words. Here it is written Bhagavan Apita Ratri. So he says Bhagavan Apita Ratri. That means why Krishna danced with other men's wives? Because he didn't have a father. If he had a father, he would have stopped him from dancing with other men's wives. You know, so that is one meaning. In Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, 5th verse, Ajopisan Avyayatma, that comes. Bhutanam Ishwaropisan. And then Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 7th chapter, Atma Ramascha Munayo, Nirgranda Api Urukrama. Then this Bhagavan Apita Ratri.
Okay.
So these three verses, api, so are very important. So there, even though he is unborn,
Okay.
he has taken birth. In the Atmarama, even though they are Atmarama, still they take part, they relish the pastimes of Krishna. Here again, Bhagavan Apita Ratri, even though he is Bhagavan, Vishwanath Chakravarti says that Krishna is detached from material enjoyment, but he is not detached from spiritual enjoyment. So, seeing the love of gopis, even though he is Bhagavan, he is Aptakam and Atmaram, he wanted to enjoy. So Vishwanath Chakravarti says it's not that in order to satisfy the gopis or fulfill their desire, he danced. No, he himself wanted to dance. That is why this Saradotfulla, Mallika, all this Uddipana, like Alambana and all that stuff. So on this night, there are many wonderful things have happened. Manmada came, then he said, okay, I will defeat Krishna, because he is surrounded by so many beautiful women. And then he himself became attracted. Tadodu Raja Kakubihi Kair Mukhaihi. The next verse comes. So in that, Chandrama is the forefather of Chandravamsha. He is the originator. So he thought, I am Chandra. Everybody's like Krishna's face is also compared to Chandrama. That means I am more beautiful than this Krishna. So that is why he came. He said, see how beautiful I am, like that to show. So when he saw Krishna's beautiful face, lotus face, he became so disturbed because this is a spotless moon. Then I have spots on me. How can I say that I am more beautiful than Krishna? He became so ashamed that he broke into 10 pieces. And then he took shelter of Krishna's nails. That is why Krishna nails are known as Nakachandra. Nakachandra. There are so many. One more thing is the Jagau Kalam, Manohara, Vamadrusha, third verse it comes. So in that, Vishwanath Chakravarti says that the Kama Gayatri that we chant, right? So that is when Krishna played flute, he Jagau Kalam, he explains some Sanskrit, some terminology. He says that he passed to this Kama Gayatri. So that is called Brahmanadam. Like it is called Manushya Gandharva, Deva Gandharva, and then Brahma Gandharva. There are various types of music like that. What we have, Sarigama Padanisa, that is Manushya Gandharva. And then when Krishna took Dwarkavasis to Pindar Kshetra for picnic, Krishna called Narad Muni and his friend. He introduced Deva Gandharva. There, all the Dwarka. But what Krishna played during Rasa dance, that is Brahma Gandharva. So all these expert musicians like Lord Shiva, Narad Muni, on Saraswati Devi, they all came with a notebook and pen to learn the new tune. What is this new tune? You know, like that. So they wanted to write down the notes and all. What is all that? They didn't understand. Because then they said, we can't figure out what is this notes and all. So they just sat and enjoyed the music. So this Venuganam is meant for only for the gopis. And each and every gopi received a message. That is where they ran. And then Vishwanath Thakur comments that Krishna spoke certain words. This word, dharma, women should not, come in the middle of the night. You please go back. Lot of things, he spoke. So Vishwanath Thakur says that he gives two meanings. One is outer meaning, but Krishna has an inner meaning where he's saying don't go, but actually he's saying go, but actually he means that don't go. He means you don't go, like that. So Krishna wanted that the gopis should give up their shyness, and he wanted them to tell what they want, because Paramatma hai, I am sitting in everybody's hearts. I am seeing everything, so why you should feel shy? Because Krishna wanted the gopis to give up their shyness. That is why he spoke those words. Then finally gopis, they gave up shyness. Then said, yeah, actually we want this. Okay, then, he started dancing like that. So there are, many times you must have heard this story that the gopis also replied very beautifully, word to word answer, defeating Krishna's words. Then another, I don't know where it is, that see, suppose if the husband goes away, then husband tells the wife, worship my photo, right? Then after he comes back, so still the wife should worship the photo or the person? Is it a person? Because the photo is not required. Like that, all this while we are thinking some stupid fellows as husband. But now we have realized you are the real husband. So why should we worship our stupid husbands? So we will worship you. Like that. So like that, many wonderful realizations. Then Tesham tat Saubhagya Madam, right? This so then Sukadeva Goswami says that the gopis have become proud of their good fortune, right? So that is why Krishna doesn't want even a pinch of ahankar in their devotees. That is why, in order to purify their consciousness little bit, he left the Rasa dance. Then Radharani showed them how to cry for Krishna. That is so that is why Krishna left the Rasa dance. Then the next chapter, the gopis search for Krishna. So it shows that not by chanting, Krishna Chaitanya says that not by chanting, not by hearing, not by jhana, not by puja, one will get Krishna, only by crying. Because they chanted all this Gopi Gita and all, still Krishna did not appear. Then they started crying loudly. That crying is also very melodious, it seems. Then Krishna came. So we should cry for Krishna. That is a real. This is a lesson. I will conclude by saying this, that Krishna is known as Mukunda Avatar. Means he gave perfection to various kinds of devotees. By performing Balya Lila, he gave perfection to mothers. And then by performing that that Gocharan Lila, he gave perfection to Gopavalakas. Then by performing Govardhan Lila, he gave perfection to elder Gopas, right? And then this is the last, final, and highest. By performing this Ras Lila, he gave perfection to the Gopis, who are the highest kind of devotees. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, thank you. You gave the overall summary, which I couldn't give, of the whole chapter. So, of course, once this question was asked to Prabhupada, why this whole world is made by God? So Prabhupada said, for enjoyment. So the reporter was very happy. Then Prabhupada added, not for you, for Krishna's enjoyment. So generally our tendency is like that only. That we want to put first, even before Krishna, to enjoy. So, thank you. That was Maharaj. So we'll end here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.